Hello guys! Welcome to our channel. So for today's video, ating pag-uusapan ng about sa Sustainable Philippines. About sa ekonomiya ng Pilipinas. So ngayon ay samahan nyo kami sa ating pagsasaliksik.
Economical status of the Philippines. The Philippines possesses several advantages. One of it, quality manpower and resources. The Filipino workforce is one of the most compelling advantage. That is why the Philippines has over any other Asia country with a higher education priority. The literacy rate is 94.6% among the highest. English is taught in the school, making the Philippines the world's third largest English-speaking country. Other ones, strategic business location. The Philippines is located in the heart of Asia. Today, the fastest growing region, it is located within the 4-hour flying time from major capital of the region. The crossroad of the eastern and western business, it is a critical entry point to over 500 million people in the ASEAN market and a gateway of international shipping and airlines suited for European and American business. Liberalized and business-friendly economy. An open economy allows 100% foreign ownership, government, corporation, and being privatized, and banking, insurance, shipping, telecommunication, and power industries have been regulated. Developing infrastructure for global growth, a well-developed communication, transportation, business, economic infrastructure links the three major islands and distinguishes the Philippines economy. Highly accessible by air, water, and cyberspace. Liberalization of the inter-island shipping and domestic aviation further spark improved facilities and services. Hospitable lifestyle discover the best of sun, sea, and style in the tropical setting, timing with the best of western amenities. The Philippines is the second home, who enjoy the company of the warmest people in the region. The country offers varied culture and decidedly global outlook. Unlimited business opportunities as an Asian economic integrate within the vast framework of the Asian Free Trade Agreement or AFTA. The Philippines is a national and most strategic location and largest Asian market and its vast trade opportunities. The Philippine weaknesses. One is indicate infrastructure levels, low financial revenues, 14% of GDP. Number 2, governance shortcomings, high corruption perception. Number 3, high levels of income inequity, underemployment, leading to expatriation. Number 4, terrorism in the south of the country. Number 5, strict bank secrecy and casinos facilitate money laundering. Number 6, exposed to natural disaster, typhoons. Number 7, recently affected with the COVID-19 pandemic with put the whole country to halt.
Environmental issue and challenges. The Philippines is rich in natural resources. It has fertile, arable lands, diverse flora and fauna, extensive coastlines, and rich minerals deposits. The Philippines boasts of many different kinds of natural water forms, such as bays, rivers, lakes, pools, gulfs, straits, and swamps. Because it is made up of islands, the country's coastline, if light end-to-end, will measure around 17.5 thousand kilometers. Although the Philippines is a country rich in natural resources, such as minerals, agricultural land, and fisheries. But this wealth is threatened by fast economic growth, rapid urbanization, and climate change, one of the fastest growing countries in Asia. The Philippines face environmental challenges, and effective management seriously degrades the country's significant biodiversity resources. Water and air pollution level exceed generally accepted health standards. Greenhouse gas emissions are increasing from the transport and power sectors, and the country is ranked as one of the world's most vulnerable to the impacts of environmental disasters. The Philippines' evident risk to natural disasters is due to its location. Being a country that lies in the Pacific Ring of Fire, it is prone to earthquakes and volcanic eruption. In addition, the country is surrounded by large bodies of water and facing the Pacific Ocean, where 60% of the world's typhoons are made. Other environmental problems that the country is facing include pollution, illegal mining and logging, dynamite fishing, landslides, coastal erosion, wildlife extinction, global warming, and climate change. Natural resources play a critical role in the Philippine economy, as agriculture, fisheries, and forestry represent about 10% of gross domestic product and account for almost 30% of employment. Equally important, natural capital provides energy, water, flood control, storm mitigation, and other environmental services that benefit the entire country, including cities. Usage assistance improve natural resources management in the Philippines, promotes water and energy security, and reduce vulnerability and natural disasters.
Political stability is a variable of great importance in a country's evolution since across time. The politics of the Philippines take place within a three-branch governmental system. The country is a democracy led by a directly elected president who serves as both the head of state and the head of government. The president heads the executive branch and has significant political powers. Presidents are limited to a single 6-year term of office. The bicameral Congress serves as the legislature consisting of the small Senate, elected on an at-large basis throughout the country, and the large House of Representatives, primarily made up of representatives elected from specific geographic of the Philippines, a body with expansive powers of review over actions taken by other political and administrative bodies. Political risks are moving higher as a result of negative impact that rising rice and other food prices are likely to have on society. Although corruption is a major problem in a number of Asian countries, it is more politicized in the Philippines than in most. The rise in food prices potentially poses an even bigger challenge to the government than corruption scandals. It has plenty of experience pending of allegations of graft. The need to respond to a growing number of people who are having difficulty putting food on the table could be especially challenging. Cost pressures are likely to drive even more Filipinos to leave the country in search of better paying jobs abroad. While at home, there will be pressure to offer relief to the poorest Filipinos. Relief that government really cannot afford in economic terms, but which it might feel it has no choice but to provide due to political pressures. The facts in the political system. Continued graft and corruption in key agencies, lack of transparency and accountability in governance, regulatory capture, agencies captured by vested interests, the weakness of the electoral processes prone to cheating and manipulation of results, dynasties and traditional policies, armed conflicts, worsening human rights situation, particularly extrajudicial killings of journalists and activists of the left, apathy or withdrawal from political engagement, especially at the national level, political initiatives, electoral reform, advocacy for human rights, advocacy for peace and development, anti-corruption advocacy according to the globaleconomy.com. Source was also taken from the World Bank. The Philippine government has always been striving to achieve political stability, although our lawmakers are always at crucial debate in solving issues and problems in our country. The majority will always decide for what is best and what has to be done for the well-being of our country.
Politics and governance. Governments are the primary actors in the physical, social, and economic aspect of nation. Food security. So in attempts to improve agriculture and food security outcomes must be considered the role of governance. It is a two-way relationship. Stable agriculture and food security system can help to establish and stable, transparent governments which contribute to more inclusive and effective agriculture and food security system. The intricate connection between agriculture, food security, and governance suggests that attempt to reduce chronic hunger must be integrate all the three elements. In particular, certain principle of governance, participation, accountability, transparency, effectiveness, and the rule of law should be integral parts of programs for agriculture and food security. Such efforts could work across multi-sector actors and food system, empowering all stakeholders to make change the increased food security and reduce malnutrition. Implicit attention to governance and public policies pertaining to agriculture can also help governments realize their food security goals. Good governance support the aims of agriculture and food security through pathways. A good system of governance must be able to respond to a food crisis and address the complex problems of food insecurity and to eliminate hunger. The integration of governments allows programs to formulate the security strategies that respond to diverse and ever-changing needs by aligning objectives and actions across all levels of government. A stable and effective agriculture system and population that have food security can also support the aims of governance, including greater civic participation and effective rule of law. Food security population are more likely to participate in political processes, whereas food security can increase governance, grievances against institutions, hinder political participation, and contribute to outbreak armed conflict.
Social stability and health. Food security is defined as physical and economic access to sufficient food to meet the dietary requirements for a productive, healthy life. There are still so many people in the country today which are affected of food insecurity or the inability of a person to access food and nutrition, especially among children here in the Philippines, is strongly linked with higher rates of disease and premature death. It also has adverse effect on crucial stage of child development, leading to cognitive and behavioral deficits, learning disability, and ultimately to an uncompetitive workforce. Hunger, poverty, and disease are interlinked and are a direct result of the lack of a sustainable and accessible food supply. People living in poverty often cannot produce or buy enough high-quality food to eat. As a result, they are frequently hungry, susceptible and widespread disease, and unable to work, resulting in lost labor productivity. Hunger is a major constraint to a country's immediate and long-term economic, social, and political development. Philippines seek and committed to end hunger and all forms of malnutrition by 2030. It was said that by 2030, the Philippines will end hunger and ensure access by all people, in particular, the poor and people in vulnerable situations, including infants, to save nutritious and sufficient food all year round and by year 2030. The Philippines end all forms of malnutrition, including achieving by 2025 the internationally agreed targets on stunning and wasting in children under 5 years of age, and address the nutritional needs of adolescent girls, pregnant and lactating women, and older persons.
International Foreign Economic Relations. The Philippines, along with 168 nations of the world, renewed their collective commitment to pursue sustainable development through a common, integrated, and inclusive agenda in next 15 years. They adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development in September 2015 to usher in a new global development era with a common pledge that no one will be left behind. The Global 2030 Agenda involves the attainment of 17 Sustainable Development Goals, SDG, and 169 targets by 2030. The United States is leading international efforts to address the need that people around the world have for reliable sources of quality food. American aid is in part directed to food security, ensuring every nation has the ability to feed its population adequate amounts of nutritional foods. The National Institute of Food and Agriculture, or NIFA, expresses their supports on global efforts to strengthen agricultural productions and end hunger by helping countries to improve their agricultural markets and increase food production, joining with USDA and other federal agencies on global initiatives intended to break the cycle of hunger and poverty. helping developing countries improve their agricultural economics, food, and agriculture organization, or FAO, in the Philippines continues to collaborate closely with other UN agencies through the United Nations Philippines Partnership Framework for Sustainable Development. FAO actively participated in the formulation of PFSD, which is anchored on the national priorities in the Philippine Development Plan 2017 to 2022.
Food security not only carries significant benefits for human health, but also serves as the basis to achieve sustained economic growth in the Philippines to develop. Without stable and long-lasting food security, there will be a continued negative effect on human capital, and this will raise government fiscal cost. With negative consequences on government public spending, this also will lead to stagnated economic growth in the long term. Thus, food security is central to both short and long-term economic, and it needs to be a central part in a larger cross-sectoral strategy at the national, regional, and global levels. Finally, it is important to understand that investment general towards achieving food and nutrition security must be integrated into the larger public policy debate, particularly in countries facing budgetary restriction and obstacle to develop on multiple fronts. Having clear targets and proper monitoring and evaluating strategies for measuring progress in the fight against hunger and malnutrition is a necessary step. Beyond this, linking these targets with other cross-sectoral programs where the efficiency and effectiveness of public expenditures are held accountable will play a key role in achieving long-term sustainable economic growth even under tight budget constraints, a stable and effective agricultural.
Telecommunications